Hello, hello, guys. All right. So, a couple reminders to begin with, which is that if you have questions, make sure you ask about them in the Schoology discussion forum as long as you're in that class. And keep track of which ones are tough for you, because I'm guessing this is going to be the set where you're going to remember the most. Not as in, like, did it all right the first time, but as in when I go through it, you'll be like, oh, right. So, this is a really good one. Make sure you write down any extra topics that you want me to go over for those extra 2 videos. And let's begin. Okay. Oh, right. All the answers. Okay, so 1 is C, like cat. 2 is F, like frog. 3 is E, like elephant. 4 is K, like kangaroo. 5 is A, like apple. 6 is K, like kangaroo. 7 is E, like elephant. 8 is K, like kangaroo. 9 is D, like dog. 10 is K, like kangaroo. 11 is D, like dog. 12 is J, like jump. 13 is C, like cat. 14 is J, like jump. And 15 is E, like elephant. All right, so it says that a Celsius temperature can be approximated by taking half of the difference of 32 and Fahrenheit. So if I take Fahrenheit and I subtract 32 from it, and then I have it, which means that's times by 1/2, that should get my Celsius temperature. So, and it is important that you have it in parentheses like C is here. Because it says it's having the difference. That means that you do the difference first and then you have that answer. All right. If x is -5, what is the value of this thing? Okay, so we're going to plug in -5 in for every x. And then we're going to do the top and then the bottom. So the top, I've got -5 squared, which is 25. 25 minus 9 on top. The bottom is -5 plus 3, which is -2. 25 minus 9 is 16. 16 divided by -2 is -8, which is F. Remember that if you square a negative number, that it does become positive, because a negative times a negative is a positive. If you're thinking, but I squared a negative number in my calculator and I got -25, well, I bet you didn't put parentheses around it, because then your calculator would have done it correctly. So make sure you remember your parentheses when you're doing stuff like that. Okay. Next up, for all x and y, what is it when you multiply this stuff together? All right, now there are 2 ways to multiply these things together. You can either you can do FOIL, which you take the first times the first, which is what? 3x cubed, because this is like x to the first and x to the second makes x cubed. The outer, which is this one times this one, which makes -3xy. The inner, which is x squared times y. And the last, which is negative times a positive, so -y squared. And then you put them all together for your answer. So that would be 3x cubed minus 3xy plus x squared y minus y squared, which is this one, E. Now, just as a quick reminder, when you are actually taking the ACT, you want to move quickly. So if you get to the point where you've got this stuff written out, there is no reason for you to write out that answer on the side, because you can just quickly figure out which one matches what you just did. Another way to do it is to do it with kind of like a Punnett Square, like in science, which is what I prefer. And then you put the stuff on the outside. So that'd be 3x and y, and x squared minus y. Again, that's 3x cubed. So this one is like basically these two multiplied together. And then this spot would be the y times the x squared multiplied together. And this spot is -3xy, and that one is the y and the -y, which makes -y squared. So you see that these numbers inside this rectangle are exactly the same as the numbers you get from FOIL. So you definitely don't have to do it both ways, but whichever way makes more sense to you. All right, we got another formula. It says that A is the principal. It just kind of basically says what everything is. Which of the following, so I'm not even going to read all of that garbage. I'm just looking at the question here. It says, which of the following solves this formula for T? All right, so I've got to get into that T, so I've got to work outside first. So this is P times this stuff. So first thing I'm going to do is divide by P on both sides. And then I have A over P equals 1 plus RT. Before I can divide by R and get rid of that, I've got to get rid of this 1. So that's minus 1 on both sides. AP minus 1. And I'm actually going to change that into P over P because that's the same thing as 1. Because I know I'm going to combine these for a common denominator. And that equals RT. Okay. And then now that I've got a common denominator, I'm going to call that A minus P over P equals RT. And then to finish it up, I'm going to divide by R on both sides to get T by itself. So I'm going to divide by R here, divide by R over there. So that's A minus P over R, another P equals T. And that is, it looks like K. Just got to take it nice and slow. Remember that you always need a common denominator when you add things. Remember, if I'm going too fast, you are perfectly in control of your computer or phone or tablet or whatever you're watching me on. So pause it. Pause it, think about it, take your time. For all x, it looks like it just wants us to simplify this equation. Okay, well that's not bad. I'm going to make that plus a negative 7 because I think that'll make it easier for me. So the first thing I'm going to do is distribute that negative 7 to both of them. That's 8 minus 7x plus 28 because a negative times a negative is a positive. And then I'm going to put the two regular numbers together that don't have a variable in them. So that's 36 minus 7x, which is A. Okay. And it doesn't matter if it's 36 minus 7x or negative 7x plus 36. You can add things in any order you want. So just recognize that. All right, for number 6, when x is 1/3, what is the value of all that stuff? Let's see, that'd be 9 times 1/3 minus 2, all divided by 1/3. So 9 times 1/3 is really like 9 divided by 3, or a third of 9, which is just 3. So this is 3 minus 2 over 1/3. 3 minus 2 is 1. 1 over 1/3. So then this would be 1 over 1 divided by 1/3, which is the same thing as 1 over 1 times, if you flip the fraction. Remember that dividing by a fraction is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. And that makes 3. Okay. All right. There's all my work. Sliding up. Number 7, what value of x will satisfy this equation? I guess you could just like plug them all in and try it out, but I think it'd be faster to actually just solve it. So I'm going to distribute that 0.2 to both of them. If I distribute it, let's see, I get 0.4x plus, if I, in my calculator, take 0.2 times 1,470, I get 294, and that equals x. That's like 1x, remember? So now to get the x by itself, I'm going to subtract, well, I guess I'll subtract this 0.4x over here. Okay, so